Obviously a short turnaround, Jimmer. Have you had to change your training a bit this week, a bit lighter, considering how taxing it was the other night?
Yeah, a little bit. Obviously, you're playing, short break, and obviously the taxing conditions we saw last week. So we'll modify our training a little bit. But it's important they get up and going at the same time. We don't want to be sitting too idle around. But look, the boys recovered really well. Our recovery session's been terrific up here. There's obviously some really good facilities. So I think they'll train light but quick today, and hopefully come out and hit the ground running come Thursday.
We know you'd you'd obviously pre-planned this short turnaround. You rested Dave Swallow and Braden Fiorini. What do they bring back this week when they come in?
Yeah, we've got probably 4 or 5 guys that are fresh and available to play, so we've got to make sure we'll go through training today, see how they pull up and see how some of those guys recover, but we've got certainly some adequate players that can come in, fulfil roles for us as well. So it's really important. I think a little bit of turnover with regard to the squad is important to get some freshness in there. We obviously saw the taxing nature of the game towards the back end of last week. There's periods during the third quarter and the last quarter that players are just out on their feet. So we've just got to make sure that we pick the best squad possible that can cover the ground as good as they can.
Got a couple of bigger guys that have made the journey up from the coast. You're looking at bringing in some extra fresh blood this Thursday?
Yeah, possibly. It's one of those ones we'll just see how the boys train, see how they pull up. We've done some good recovery sessions up here, but until we hit the park, which our first training session, the only training session today, will effectively be the one that we monitor and see how that goes. The music always helps them get up and about, so that's not a bad result. Not my choice of music, by the way.
It's not your playlist today?
No, 80s classic rock would be the one of choice for me. But yeah.
You've clearly made, I just had a look the other day, you're 9 matches in, you used the second most players in the comp so far this season. Was that a pre-planned thing to see what you've got on the list in your first half of the season, or is it just the way it's evolved?
Yeah, it's a little bit you don't know what you don't know. So we're very lucky. We've got a great depth of talent here at the Suns, and the important thing is to, when players are in form, to reward that form. We thought we did that last week with guys like Joel Jeffrey's been in good form, Lloyd Johnson. Sexton's been in terrific form, and that's a good thing about healthy competition for spots, is what keeps sides up the top. So, we're going to get some better consistency and performance in some elements of our game style, but credit where credit's due. The players that have played at the lower level have performed really well. So you've got to reward those performances when they become available.
You've rested a couple of young fellas so far this season. Will you look to do that this week? Jake and Jed have had a string of games. Yeah,
they have played a string, so they'll get a rest at some stage. So once again, we'll monitor their flagging levels and see how they go, and once again we'll make a call sometime today or next week at some stage. They'll get a rest over the coming weeks. Our VFL boys have got a bye this week, so Will Graham and Ethan Reid will get a spell, as will some other boys, but the other boys are going quite well, but we'll just see how they pan out after training today.
What sort of version of Geelong do you expect? Well, I know you spoke very highly of them the other night. They've come off a couple of losses. Does that change anything in terms of what you expect to see out here on Thursday?
No, we know what they're gonna bring. They're a high contest, high stoppage, high surge from contest side. So they'll try and develop a +1 behind the ball. We're very lucky we've got Sean Grigg in our coaching staff that's got a really good knowledge of how Scotty and the Geelong Cats work. So he's given us some good insights about what to expect this week. Once again, it's all good to plan and prepare. You've still got to execute, so that's our challenge. They're a really good footy side, but we see how they got jumped last week by Port Adelaide, but they still managed to nearly win the game with a minute to play. So they're a good footy club, well coached, well drilled. So we're going to have our work cut out for us this week.
While the conditions were obviously taxing the other night, do you feel like you do have a bit of an advantage here because you've had a run in them, you know what to expect from the jump, whereas...
Yeah, well, I think so. It is a home away from home. Our guys have got a great record here. They've got a great understanding of what Darwin footy's like. It's a difficult one because at various stages the ball can be quite wet and slippery, but then there's other stages where the ball can, because a new one you grab from behind the goals and then it's up and about as well. So, without going into too much depth, the guys have got a really good understanding about how to play the conditions, but more importantly, what offensive toolkit is required at right time. So I think our guys did a pretty good job of that last week.
You mentioned Joel a bit earlier. Obviously, he was one of the boys playing in front of his home crowd. What did you see from him on Saturday night that I guess you would have liked?
Yeah, I think I've always said this. I think Joel's one of those players. I think he's going to be a better player at AFL level than VFL, and he sort of rises to the occasion. And he's had to work on a couple of things in his game that we were trying to bring out. He's got some strengths that we want to explore a little bit more, and we started to see those the other night. His ability to take the game on and use his speed is something that we've been working on. I think sometimes he's a bit of a kick mark type player, but we want him to see him, use his explosive speed and the talents that God's given him. So I thought we saw that the other night, and hopefully we see it again tonight.
And Bodie Ulan, I know you said earlier in the year he's like a bit of a favourite of yours, but you sent him back to, I guess, work on his game. Like, you must have been thrilled with what he did.
Yeah, I was thrilled with, he and Secco and all those players that we've gone back. And, we've been some VFL boys that played well on the weekend, and I reckon the quality and credit of a player is those sort of players that go back and understand what they've got to work on and come back better. And look, he was terrific last week, one of, if not the best player on the ground. I thought he was outstanding. So we're looking forward to him reproducing that form and hopefully keeping the ball out of our back half as much as possible.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
You're right. How important is this week's opportunity kicking off in Darwin?
Yeah, it is. It's obviously, what we probably know is Geelong are a very good side, and we're one of those sides that we sort of want to beat. We haven't beaten for, I think we beat them last year sort of thing, but it's a side that we're looking to put an imprint on and leave a mark. So, it's really important we start well and get the game looking like a SUNS game and hopefully walk away with the points. It's a challenge. Obviously, they're a proud footy club coming off a couple of losses, but, we know that the depth of their talent and, more importantly, the quality of their club. So it's going to be a challenge for us.
Are you looking at making Charles support this?
Yeah, well, it has been. So, as I said, it is a home away from home, and one of the things that the guys have done very well is making sure that we've won more games than we've lost here. So, we've won, I think, our last 5 or 6 encounters here. So hopefully this is another one in that we can tick in the win columns.
Last question.
Yep.
Are you preparing for Geelong to play Tom Hawkins now that Jeremy Cameron's out?
I wouldn't have thought so. It's a tough one because he's got to break the games record holder. I think it's one of those ones he'd prefer to do it at Geelong to have his whole family there. So, look, any time a good player with the quality of Tom Hawkins isn't playing, it's a win for us. And obviously Jeremy, we wish him well with obviously the concussion protocols, but he's a quality player too. So it's a headache that we won't have. But, the challenge and the things that coaches love is predictability. So those two players go out, how their forward line looks and how their forward line functions is going to be a challenge for us because we're not quite sure what it's going to look like. So ideally predictability is good, but anytime 2 quality players go out, it's always a good result as well.
Beautiful.